Did you know that there were tunnels in the Magic Kingdom? You probably do if you clicked on this video all about Keys of the Kingdom.
So a few weeks ago, we did the Keys to the Kingdom tour. Just a heads up, you're not actually allowed to take photos or videos during that tour, but we do want to give you a full rundown of what is included in the tour and what it's all about. So we are here back at Magic Kingdom today to talk about that.
So a couple weeks ago, we got to mark a huge thing off of our bucket list, and that is the Keys to the Kingdom tour. If you're not familiar with the Keys to the Kingdom tour, basically it is a behind-the-scenes backstage tour of Magic Kingdom.
This isn't to be confused with a VIP tour, so those are very, very, very different experiences. VIP tours are more focused on being able to do a bunch of rides. Those are private, it's just with your family. They also are thousands and thousands of dollars more expensive than Keys to the Kingdom. Keys to the Kingdom is more focused on the history and the inner workings of how the Magic Kingdom works. Keys to the Kingdom is a 5-hour walking tour. So this is very important to know that if you do have mobility issues, that you can do ECV or scooters or wheelchairs. However, you just need to make sure that you let your tour guides know ahead of time so that way they can make those accommodations since you are going to be with a group of, I think we had about 20 people in our group.
Yeah.
So make sure that you know that ahead of time. This is also not a kid-friendly tour. You must be 16 years old or older to participate in this tour, again, because you're going in a lot of backstage areas that just aren't really super safe and can kind of spoil the magic when you're in those areas.
One thing I wanted to say is that if you're someone that is maybe afraid of this tour ruining the magic, I was a little hesitant about that, to be honest, but if anything, it helped enhance the magic because you just see things through a different lens and you're and then you come back to Magic Kingdom and you're back on stage and you're like, wow, I had no idea. So keep that in mind when you're someone that is hesitant about that, like I was.
Typical pricing for this tour is going to range anywhere from $129 to $149 per person. I think when we were booking it, it was that $149 price. However, super big tip, if you have a Disney Visa credit card, you get a pretty steep discount. I think we ended up only paying $109 per person, so that was $80 off overall, which is a great deal, especially once we did this tour and I realized just how much of a big bang for your buck. $100 a person, it was definitely worth it.
You can book this tour 60 days in advance, either through the My Disney Experience app, the Disney website, or you can even call in if you need to. There are 3 tour times that you can select. Spoiler alert, they're all in the morning, so if you're not an early morning person, keep that in mind. With that being said, you do want to plan accordingly for transportation time, for buses, or for us, we were driving, so we had to take the ferry or the monorail. So you definitely obviously want to get there early, but definitely plan for that transportation time because that can be a huge factor that if you're late, they may or may not wait for you or be able to put you in that later tour if you're one of the early ones.
Yeah, definitely make sure you get there early and don't be afraid of getting there too early. Remember, they do let guests into the park before official park opening time, so you can head on in, go get your morning Starbucks, get a few pictures before you head over to your tour. Just do not be late. You need to arrive at least 10 to 15 minutes ahead of time of your tour time. Also included in this tour is lunch. We ate at Columbia Harbor House. We'll talk a little bit more about that here in a bit, but that was another thing that I felt was a really good bang for your buck. I did not realize that lunch was going to be included in this tour, so that was pretty great.
And by lunch, we really basically mean breakfast because it was halfway through the tour at 10 a.m. So now let's talk about the experience on the tour. You do check in at the little kiosk right outside of Tony's Town Square. They will give you your name tags, your listening device, and they also even had complimentary bottles of water that I thought was a really nice touch. They even have a little Keys to the Kingdom key photo prop thing that you can take a picture with as well.
Very important. You do have to show a government issued photo ID when you check in for each person because they have to verify that the person there is indeed the same person that they have on their registry. If you have last minute flip-flops, things like that, you need to make sure you call ahead of time and make those changes, because they will ask for an ID for each member in your party. Going back to what Mark Allen said about the photo prop, and very, very important about this tour, and kind of the reason why we're doing this video this way, is there are no phones, no cameras, no video, no photography allowed during the entirety of this tour. Take your pictures beforehand with the cute little sign, and then put those phones away and enjoy the tour that you paid that money for.
I mentioned during the check-in process that you'll get your listening device and your name tag. What's cool is that you get to keep your name tag as like a little souvenir. So this is mine. And I just think it's a fun little touch that you get to keep this as a little memento.
So you do have to wear your name tag in a visible place. We already had like birthday buttons on because it was for Mark Allen's birthday. So I actually just pinned it to the lanyard itself. That my headset, the listening device, the headset. I just pinned it on that lanyard. So if you don't like to poke holes in your clothes, that's just a little pro tip for you.
For the headset, it basically just kind of loops over your ear, and then you have like volume control and everything. So even if you are someone that's maybe hearing impaired, I'm sure they can
you can adjust the volume. Yeah, you can adjust the volume louder, quieter, things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, they probably have some other devices or accommodations for you. Again, if you do have hearing disabilities, anything like that, they're super easy to operate. Literally, they pretty much have them set for you when they give it to you. You just have to plug it in, and that turns it on. So don't worry. It's not like anything super technologically crazy. It's just you pop your headset on, plug it in, you're good to go. We don't want to spoil the entire experience for you, but we do want to give you a little bit of a rundown of how the day went. After we checked in, we all went out onto the little like patio area outside of Tony's Town Square restaurant to kind of get started. That was where our guide told us the rules, kind of told us what was going to happen, gave us that whole rundown. Then we kind of headed over to Main Street, which we spent quite a bit of time over in that area.
During that part, she really talked about like the posters on Main Street, and basically how it's like you're on stage and
you're going to a show. Like when you go to a movie theater,
you see the previews and things like that. At least old movies when the previews were at the beginning. So you get to see all of that. But the biggest thing that she really highlighted on Main Street was really the windows, which I thought was super, super cool. I can't tell you how many times I've walked by the windows and I'm like, you never think to really look up and really super, super pay attention to the windows. So it was a really, really, that was a highlight of the tour for me.
After Main Street, we kind of headed a little bit into the hub for a few minutes to talk about that. And then we actually went over to Adventureland. So my idea of what this tour was, I thought we were staying on Main Street the whole time. Anything that I had heard of, I was like, oh, we just go on Main Street and then we go on the Utilidoors and that's it. No, that's actually not the case. You go all over the place with this tour. And I thought that was so cool. So we headed over to Adventureland to talk about some more Disney history. There's a ton of Disney history that you're going to learn. And we actually got to ride a ride. I'm not going to tell you which one, but we did get to go ride a ride and learn about the ride, and I thought that was super cool to just see that attraction in a totally different way.
Yeah, it was a nice little surprise that I did not know about, but especially being able to learn more facts about the ride. And again, it's just all about enhancing the magic. It didn't ruin the magic for me by any means.
There was even some stuff that, we're pretty, I would consider ourselves Disney experts, but there was even some things little Easter eggs that I had no idea about. None. Yeah. We've walked by it a million times and had no idea that it was there. So that was something very cool about this tour, is those little details are so freaking cool.
Yeah, and along with that too, if you are someone that, prides yourself in Disney history or a Disney World expert like us, there were still things that we had no idea. Mm-hmm. Some of it we knew, some of it we didn't.
After Adventureland, we kind of headed back over and went back to our first backstage area. So we went over by Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and kind of where Festival of Fantasy Parade comes out, that was where we headed backstage. And the reason was to go look at some of the floats for the different parades and where those are housed. That was super cool. A lot of the gates were closed, so we only got to see like a few of the floats, but pretty much that whole area kind of takes you around the back of Adventureland. So you got to kind of see the back sides of some of those buildings. And again, just talking about some of the inner workings of like how all of that works. Super cool. We were there early enough that like none of the performers were getting ready yet, but I think if you do that later tour, she said that you might see the performers getting ready and getting prepped for the parade. So if that's something that interests you, maybe try and book the later parade, or not the later parade, try and book the later tour versus the earlier, but that's not guaranteed.
Right.
But just to know.
And about this time, we were about 2 hours into the tour, so it was time for lunch. We went back on stage, and we went to Columbia Harbor House. They do allow you to choose what you want to order for lunch when you check in for your tour. So if you're not familiar with the menu at Columbia Harbor House,
they have like a little card for you, and it has all the menu like pictures and everything, so you can pick what you wanted. Columbia Harbor House has a lot of seafood, think like fried fish, lobster rolls, things like that. But they did have a burger, I think, and then they had chicken tenders. We were not feeling fish that day because it was just still really early in the morning, so we both got chicken tenders.
It did also include a drink and a cupcake as well.
Yeah, the cupcake is actually from Cheshire Cafe. Again, I can't guarantee that that will necessarily be part of it every single time, but that was kind of just like a fun little special thing. And this is also where we got our commemorative pin. On each table it has your little name tag, so you know like where your food is, but this actually doubles as your little pin. So it just says Disney's Key to the Kingdom. It's one of these, like a bar pin, so it's not like a normal, like, it doesn't have
it's not
the
a
posts.
trading pin.
Yes, so I don't think that they want you trading these.
Right.
But I did think that this was a super fun, special, little touch, extra souvenir, so that was very cool.
After lunch, we went back out into Liberty Square, and we learned all about the Haunted Mansion. We got to see some of the facade, and she talked all about basically the architecture of the mansion itself.
Something cool that we learned, I just thought this kind of blew my mind. It makes total sense. But if you're familiar with the stretching room in the Haunted Mansion, I've always like tried to figure out like where that was, like on the building. So when you look at the Haunted Mansion, there's like two round like turrets almost.
Basically, it's shaped kind of like an L, and then you've got like the front door in the middle.
Yeah, so each one of those sides is, because there's two elevators, so
Stretching rooms.
They're not elevators. It was cool to see that like that was where those were, so when you are looking at the Haunted Mansion, like that's what you're looking at. So there was lots of more information that we learned, but I just thought that was super cool because, again, things you walk by and you always see, but you just like never put two and two together. I will also spoil that this was the second ride that we got to do.
Now,
McAllen's dreams came true.
So basically, they take you in like the servants' quarters, is what they call it, and you get to see a little bit of that.
Basically, it's just a back hallway.
It's just a back hallway that like loops you back into like the pre-show. So it wasn't as cool as what I thought, but I mean, you still didn't have to wait in an hour-long line like it was that day.
It's true.
When it comes to the attractions that we did get to ride during the tour, do keep in mind that these may or may not change depending on availability.
If the ride is down.
If the ride's down, different things like that. I'm sure that they have backup plans.
Yeah, so I'm not guaranteed that you get to ride these. These were just some nice surprises, because a lot of it too also depends on like time. Like if you're running behind on your tour, you may not get to do this. So again, just keep in mind, things we're telling you, these are what we experienced. Every tour might be a little bit different just depending on what's going on that day. They did kind of save the best for last. Towards the end of the tour, I think we spent about the last hour down in the Utilidoors. So if you're not familiar with what the Utilidoors are, Magic Kingdom is on the second floor. Underneath is a series of tunnels and offices and rooms and things. This is where the cast members are able to get to their respective lands that they work without having to go through the park itself.
It is very confusing if you had no idea where you're going. So this is a great opportunity to thank your tour guide for knowing where to go. But you you'll see cast members walking and working and maybe taking a lunch break down there. You'll see a lot of the inner workings for the Magic Kingdom.
They also had a lot of cool like artwork and photos and like shadow boxes of like old pins. And
if
they
you're
had lots of cool stuff like that.
if you're huge into pin trading, which spoiler, if you don't know what pin trading is, we did do a pin trading 101 video, so that'll be linked in the description.
And we're going to be doing another pin trading video very, very soon.
They had basically every year of cast member exclusive pins that they traded.
Really cool.
So I thought that was really, really cool. So it wasn't just like concrete that you're looking at.
Yeah.
There was a lot more to look at there.
Yeah.
They did have like some cases that were filled with like different like old audio animatronic parts, different parts from the, like when they would decorate the castle, different things. So there was a lot more than just the Utilidoors to look at.
Yeah, I will be honest that I do wish that this part of the tour was at the beginning. It was, like I've mentioned a few times, it's a lot of information. It's a lot of information. And by this point, I was getting very tired. And I was having a really hard time, like, paying attention.
And it was after lunch.
Because this was kind of the like, history of the building of Magic Kingdom part, and, like, Walt's vision and all that. That was that part of the tour. And by that point, I was, like, my feet were very tired, and I was like, this is cool, but I'm done. So I wish that part was more at the beginning, but I understand why they end with it too.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is what it is. And then finally, like once we were done, we came out. If you've ever done like the Halloween party or the Christmas party, there's like that back path that they open up to like check in for the party kind of thing.
Like right behind like the Plaza ice cream shop.
So we exited right out there, and then we got to see kind of where Tinkerbell lands and kind of learn more about that too. So that was also really cool.
Basically, by that point, that was the end of the tour.
Yeah.
And we were very tired. By the end of that, we were like, oh, we're gonna stay in Magic Kingdom.
I was like, nope,
right,
I need to
rides.
go take
Like we were done. And we had both even had coffee that morning. So
be prepared. It's a long one. I would say if you are planning on doing this, maybe plan an afternoon nap.
Yeah.
Or maybe a lunch, like late lunch or something that you can go take a rest.
Yeah.
Before you head back into the parks to like go and do normal park things.
The best way to describe this tour is that it's overwhelming in the best way possible. It really does enhance the magic. Like when I was walking back into Magic Kingdom this morning, you know, looking at the windows and things like that, it changes the way you look at things and you come to appreciate things differently.
Yeah, I think it's because you see how much like work goes into it and how many moving parts there are to create this like magical thing that Disney does, like the parades or the rides or whatever. You come to have a much more appreciation for those things. Super cool.
If you haven't seen it before, definitely check out the Imagineering story on Disney Plus, because that even will enhance the magic of the tour itself even more than the tour itself enhances the magic at Magic Kingdom, if that makes any sense at all.
That doesn't make any sense.
Hopefully you get what I'm... Go check out the Imagineering story. You'll thank me later.
One last note. Don't be afraid to get your boarding groups for Tron first thing in the morning, because if your boarding group gets called during your tour, all you have to do is show them your little like button name tag thing and they will let you in, even if your time has passed. So don't be like us and forget to get your boarding group. Get your boarding group at 7 a.m. Who would we recommend this tour to? I can tell you I would not recommend it for people who have never been to Magic Kingdom before.
Absolutely not.
I would not recommend it for people who have never been to Disney before, because it does take up most of your day.
Yeah.
It takes up most of your day, and I think if this is your one and only day at Magic Kingdom, you're going to, I don't want to say waste a lot of time, but like you're going to waste a lot of time that you could have been doing rides and other things like that. So if you've never been, just keep this in your pocket for future trips, but maybe skip it if it's your first trip.
I think another huge group of people that I would recommend this to are annual pass holders, specifically because if you don't have an annual pass, you still have to pay park admission as well on top.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
The price to do the tour itself. So obviously, if you have an annual pass, you're not paying that extra money on top of it. So kind of like what Kayla said, if you are someone that doesn't have an annual pass, get one. No, I'm just kidding. But
just make sure you keep in mind again that you are going to be spending half of your day during this tour, and then you're probably going to need a little bit of a break before you head to the parks. Maybe look at ticket prices. Do this during like a low peak season when tickets are a little cheaper. Don't do this like during Christmas when tickets are more than $200 per person. You know. Because then you will be spending a lot of money. But that is also a good point. I think this tour is definitely for history buffs, especially if you are a Disney history buff. There were so many cool things that we learned. It was really cool. It honestly blew my expectations. Like, it was a much better tour. I was kind of like dreading it. Not dreading it, but kind of just like, really? We're really gonna go do this? This sounds really lame. It was not lame. It was very cool.
You almost anticipate it to be like this like kitschy backstage tour of like, oh, this you're paying all these monies to see the Utilidoors for 5 minutes, but that's not the case at all. I absolutely loved it. I don't think I would rush back to do it anytime soon, just because it is a lot. It's expensive, and
I don't think it's one that you would want to do over and over again. It's kind of a one and done experience. I think maybe if you did it, I don't know, every 5 years or something. Like if you're one of those people that comes back like every year after you're here, sure. But I think for us, it's kind of a one and done thing, just because I don't know that it would be a lot different if we were to do it again, especially not anytime soon. But I'm glad that we did it because it was a really cool, like, once in a lifetime experience, you know?
Yeah.
So, because I don't even think you get to go in some of those areas on a VIP tour.
No, like the VIP tour, I'm pretty sure the Keys of the Kingdom tour is like the only way to really go backstage like where we went.
Yeah.
Or let alone into the Utilidors.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty positive the VIP tours don't do that.
Yeah. Overall, it was very cool. There was a lot of really cool surprises. I think it's definitely worth doing. Hopefully if you've had questions about what exactly this tour is about, hopefully this gave you some answers to that. Of course, if you have more questions, feel free to drop those in the comments. But I think that's all we have for you guys today.
Now go create your ever after.